In this video, we're going to go over advanced anatomy for the knee, which means you have to learn a little bit about the bones and how they bend and what happens and why the whole thing changes shape when you look at, pictures of people with straight-legged or bent legs. A question I often get, and this picture has nothing to do with knees, but I just wanted to show it because people often ask me, what software am I using? So the software I'm using is called PaintStorm. It's only $20. You own it for life. It's not a monthly subscription. $20, you own it for life and free updates. So take advantage of that while that price stands. Absolutely amazing software. It's pretty much all I use now. And so this was a painting I did with it using mostly my free brushes, which you can download at masterpaintingnow.com. All right, let's get started. I am Neil. I'm a top art instructor at Udemy. I mainly teach a lot about how to draw the human figure and painting and digital painting and stuff. Let's go and get started here. I'll just pop up a new, actually that's not what I wanted though. I'll just go like that. It automatically defaults to this kind of nice size. All right, so I'm going to use a built-in brush here, the pencil. I really like this one. It's a really nice pencil. You can run it on its side, or you can run it more up and down and get more, different kind of line strokes. Really nice. Looks a lot like a real pencil. Right, so the knee is built up of the femur bone and the tibia, so it's two separate bones. You want to think about the knee in this way when you're thinking about how it bends and stuff and how it changes shape. So from the front view, we're going to do a simplified version of the bottom part of the femur. So think about it as like a kind of a joint, right? Where it kind of has a, think about it having kind of a shape like that. And then the tibia, think about it kind of having a shape like this. This is a separate bone, this is the bottom bone. So those are the two bones. And think about them having that kind of shape to them. Then you have the kneecap, which fits on top of that. But this is the two that roll together like a joint. So this is the separation line, right, between the two bones. And so when this knee bends, it's going to bend like that. And I'll show you what that looks like in a second. Then on top of this, you have the patella, or also known as the kneecap. It actually doesn't go down that far. It looks like it does, but the bone itself actually doesn't. We're to simplify it kind of like this. Then it has ligaments that come off up this way that connect to your big, what is that, rectus femoris. You don't have to memorize all this stuff. I don't memorize it. Some of them have just stuck in my head because I've talked about it for so long over the years, but I try not to memorize these names because it's really a waste of brain space. It's not going to help you draw them any better. Then you have another ligament coming down like this, and you'll be able to see that from the side view. Sometimes you can see the, the part of the tibia, not tibia, excuse me, the femur, that comes over here, and you can kind of see sometimes, that the bone right here is sticking out a little bit in anatomy. And so it's good to know that. This bone, the patella, kneecap, you can always see that sticking out. Usually you can always see it pretty prominent. And then you also have your Fibula Bones, which are on the outside. They kind of, like from the front view, you can kind of see it's a small bone right here, and it kind of comes down like this. You can see there's a space between these bones, and then they come down. That becomes the ankle. But from the side view, it sits more in the back. Right? Now let's get into the side view so we can start to imagine how this whole structure bends and moves, so we can then think about it with more tissues on it, with some muscles on it and stuff, and how that looks, and look at some examples and why the knee looks the way it does. This will definitely help you understand the underlying mechanics. One of the few places where you really need to understand how the bones kind of work underneath. And the elbow is in a good place, and it's very similar to the knee, and how the elbow works, and how that whole structure of bones bend and move. It really helps you, because some of those bones are definitely visible, and it just helps you understand like what's happening with the body. So from the side view, see, I'm gonna draw right here. It's just easier for me to draw here. I'll move it in a second. So kind of think about like an oval shape. and it's kind of slanted up just a little bit. We're not going to get all to the little details of the bone because there's no need to. Just the basic structure is all that's necessary, because you're not going to be able to see all this in drawing. And if you ever need to draw an actual skeleton or something and you want all those details, just look at reference. And then you have the tibia. Now, the thing about the tibia is like this, right? From the side view, it kind of fits in there. And it kind of has this front plane. You can kind of see that, and then it has this part that sticks out. This is important right here. So think about this coming down. We'll have the, why do I have that there? I don't know why that's there. Oh, that's right, because I was going to kind of do this part right here where that little groove from the side view we can kind of see. So we're going to go like that. And this is where the patella fits in. And so it kind of goes like this. And from the side view, it's almost like a rectangle, kind of like this. Then it has a ligament that fits on there, and that ligament comes down. But what's important is that from the front view, this kind of sticks out quite a ways, right? And that's from the side view, you can actually see that sticking out of all the anatomy, the muscles and everything. It's like right there on the surface. There's very little skin over it. And there's another ligament that fits on here, and this is the one that goes up like this. And then it attaches to that muscle, so that there's a lot of space in between here. And that's what gives us the shape. So the leg will kind of have, after the fat tissue and everything, it kind of comes like that. Then you see the knee, then it comes down, and you see like that part, right? We'll get into that in a little bit. Then you have the lower part, which is this part of the tibia that sticks out. So you have, remember, this is one bone structure, this is the second bone structure. And with the tibia, it has this bone that kind of sticks out like this, like a triangle. Just imagine this triangle that fits right in the bone. So if you were just to kind of draw this bone and go, okay, I remember the bone looks similar to the top bone, and just kind of draw that bone there, it's kind of like that, except it has this part that sticks out and comes down. That's what shapes the bone structure. So if you can memorize that part that sticks out, it'll definitely be helpful for you. And then you have the ligament that connects these two. Now, it's actually larger than this. Let's kind of redo this a little bit. So you have this part here. It's almost as large as the top one as far as the shape goes, like that. And then you have this part that comes here and sticks out. Now from this view, the side view, you can actually kind of see some of this. If it's on the inside, you can't see it too much. Like if it's on the outside, you can see where it attaches, the fibula attaches and comes down, but it sits underneath here, right? And behind. So it's kind of like over on the other side. But from this side, the inside, you just see this part that kind of goes like this. Right? So it sits behind it all. So from the front view, you can see it like this. And you can see the space between the two bones. And from the back, you can also see space between the bones because it's sitting behind. So it's sitting to the side and behind. And then you have this ligament that comes down like this, and it connects here. And this is what gives us that basic structure where we have like that, right? However, when all this moves, I'm going to show you something that happens here. Let's move this over here. I think I'm going to make a copy of this so that I can just show you what happens when we rotate it. There we go. We'll just move that here. So we're going to take this whole bone structure, because I can show you what happens here. That. And then we'll go to free transform, so we're going to rotate it. So it rotates like this, where it almost rotates up and down. So now we're seeing the bottom part. So before we had this here, then you see this whole bottom section right here. That bottom section now is rotated forward, right? Before it was facing down, now it's rotated forward. However, the patella doesn't change too much. Because it kind of floats and sits on there. I'm using very basic shapes, like I said here, because there's really no need to get into, complex shapes for these bone structures. Kind of like this. Right, it goes up like that. Okay. The patella now kind of because this, actually I'm kind of drawing this incorrectly. It has more of a curve like this, where it kind of curves back from the underside. And so then the top, right, kind of goes like that. So kind of when it curves back, like I made it a lot larger because I'm just trying to show you this. Let's go ahead and erase all that. Hold on. Let's keep this the same size, but it has more of a curve like that. So you can kind of really keep that curve, this under curve here. And it curves back, and then you have the bone coming off sideways like this. And so the patella still has to fit into this groove, but see here, this point, because it has an oval kind of, almost like an ovalness to it, it pushes the patella out this way more. But because this underside, look at this point that would normally be here, it now sits back. That point is now sitting back, and the patella starts to fit on here, and so the patella, the kneecap, keeps its same shape, but it's like that now. See, it's kind of fit back more. And so this ligament still comes down to this piece here. Oops. It actually stretches. It's a stretchable material. It still comes down and stretches to the tibia. I don't know why I connected to that part. That's not the part it connects to. And then this part here comes out, and it still comes, and connects to that muscle. So you still have that shape. That's kind of exaggerated shape of the muscle, but you get the idea. So now you have this kind of shape that comes like this and like this. So that shape right there is a common basic shape you're going to see when you look at knees bent in different angles. But there's a lot of little nuances in there. Oftentimes you can see the little dip right here, and you can see part of that. You can see this little line, and you can see a little line here, and you can sometimes see a little dip here, and then you see this line here. But what's important is from this side view, you can see this point sticks out more than this point now. That's the main thing that's important. If you look at knees that are bent, you'll see often that's the case. But from the front, from the side view, from when the knee's not bent, the patella sticks out the most. And then this kind of just comes straight down into the leg. So this point doesn't stick out more than that point. But when the knee's slightly bent or bent to certain angles, then you'll see that this little triangle piece that we talked about on the tibia sticks out more, and that's how you get that shape. And already you can probably start to go, oh yeah, you know what, this is making sense. I remember maybe you've already drawn knees and stuff, and you've seen pictures of knees, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. That is what knees look like when viewed from these different angles and stuff. Okay. And then finally we can get into like an ultra bent leg. One thing I didn't point out about this bone, the femur bone, so from the side view, let's just kind of look at this whole bone for a second. It kind of has a curve like this from the side view. And then at the end here, there's a lot bigger curve. Sorry if you can hear my fan. I don't know why I have to grease it. Like that. And that's because when you bend your knee, if this, you have the lower bone now, the tibia, right? And if you really bend it, you need enough room in here for all your muscles and stuff to fit and be squished into. So that's the overall shape of it from the side view. Let's go back here. All right, cool. All right, so let's go ahead and take a copy of this one now. I'm just going to go like this and make a copy of it. We're going to move it here. I'm going to delete some of the stuff we don't need to see. And let's just take this part right here. This way I don't have to redraw it because there's no reason to redraw all this. Rotate it back as far as it's going to go. Like so. And then got to redraw some of this because it kind of gets shifted and turns and moves. So that's all going to stay the same. And the patella kind of gets, everything gets stretched and pulled, right? So the patella is going to fit usually you can see this almost, you can almost see a point right here where you can see the patella in there. And you have that ligament coming, up and stretching across to the muscle like that. It stretches over and across the knee, still comes and attaches to the muscle over there. And so you're going to get this usually kind of a shape like that, and then to the knee right there, then to the ligament because it's being bent. So you still kind of have that angle right there. And then you can usually see the patella sticking out. And then you can still see usually this, you can still see this point. This almost seems too big now. I think I might have drew it too big in the first place. But anyway. Then you have that ligament coming down and connecting there still. Right, so you can still usually see this kind of bone like that. It kind of has that shape right there. And then sometimes you can see this part of the bone sticking out from the side. And sometimes you can see some here kind of sticking out of the ligaments. That's the basic idea of what happens when you bend the knee. And then also, if we think about it from the front view, I'm wondering how much of this I can, there we go, fit on this page. So from the front view, if you kind of imagine that same shape over here, when the leg bends, all this is going to go away from us, right? Because we're just going to see this part of the leg. And when that happens, sorry about the dog barking. So when the leg bends, we're just going to see this part, right? And we're going to see muscles and stuff here. Right? We'll see like some muscle structures, but we're not going to see that part of the bone because that's all being bent back away from us, right? So because we'll see the side of it, but everything else, the back of the bone is going away from us. And then you can see, the patella, and you can see the ligament coming off like that. So you can still see that kind of structure from the front view. But that's all you're going to see. You're not going to see any of this up here because it's going away from us, right? Because from the side view, you see it's going this way. And so if you're viewing it from the front, you only see this. You don't see all this muscle and bone going back like that. So then you would just see those front muscles that come off here. You'd see the shape, right? Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Now there's a lot of other anatomy that goes on here, different ligaments that attach, different muscles that attach, and I go through all that in my anatomy course. And it's on sale for only $13. Only it's $100, and it's I think it's like 65,000 students now or something like that. And they're all taking it, and they've been taking it for years now. It's an awesome course. So if you want that, go check it out. I'm also working on a crash course for anatomy, so hopefully that will be available soon. But nonetheless, that's where you want to go and learn everything you want to learn about anatomy, really master the human body. It's on sale for $13. So yeah, you can get that on my website, masterpaintingnow.com. If the coupon code isn't working because I have to renew every month, just send me a message here on, just comment on the video on YouTube, say, hey, can you post an updated link to that course for the coupon code so you can get it for the right price. All right, let's go ahead and continue on here a little bit, looking at some examples. So you can try to find different. I typed in like bare legs and bare legs, leg bent, or just bare legs and stuff like that, and just find different poses and just click on poses that will take you to new pages and stuff, and click on see more. But let's go and look at some of this where you can kind of see what's going on. You can kind of see what I'm talking about. Why did my pencil change? I'm not sure. I need to reduce the size because this photo is quite small. So from this extreme bend, you can kind of see what happens here. So you have the muscle and that tendon that comes, and it's being stretched across and around. Then you have this muscle in front, but then you have the patella, which you can see there. It's kind of behind this muscle right here. Then you can see the part of the tibia that sticks out right here, that triangle piece, and you can see the ligament being stretched here like that. And then this ligament stretches. You can see this muscle in front there. Keep that in mind. That's what you're seeing there, anatomy. But that ligament is still stretching all the way around, or tendon ligament. I don't know, I can't remember which is which, but right, creating the muscle up there. So that's the idea. So then when you look at this, you can see, now if you look at it again, you can kind of see that, right? You can see a little bit that part of the tibia that sticks out, the tendon that comes up. Then you can kind of see this little shape right here. You have like that, and then it kind of comes down like this, and there's a little bit of shape like that. Just kind of remember that shape from the front. And then this is all kind of rounded, you know, for the, you have that muscle comes in front, right? So think about that, those shapes that they're there. We can also see them here from the side view. So you still have, let's see here, we have, it's kind of hard to see because these words are in the way, but let's see, I'm trying to show, we'll have the tendon coming off here like that, coming around to the kneecap, patella, which is underneath there. And then it has the ligament, which is coming down. And you can kind of see with the anatomy right here, that part of the tibia that sticks out right there. And so it kind of creates this shape like that. It's like this, like that, and like that. So kind of, I'm exaggerating, but for you can see it, but it's almost like a skateboard ramp, right? And that shape, that same skateboard ramp is right here, see? So you just got to think about, if you think about that skateboard ramp, and that it's pretty much there whenever the knee's bent at all, and where that skateboard ramp fits is right there in the knee. And right here you can still see it in the same place, right? It fits right there. And so no matter how much the knee's bent, like that will still be there. So you have the muscle and the tendon and or ligament that comes down here like that. You can see that coming off the patella, and all that is stretching out. So that's what gives that shape. And you can see this overall shape, which is here. If you just kind of reduce the skateboard ramp, right? So you have this first flat part. You can kind of see how it flattens out too. You can see, come on. You can see the muscle and the tendon, everything coming off like this. And you can kind of see this flat part right here. And then you can see another flat part right here. If we just reduce it, you can see those flat parts. So when you're drawing a leg, you can go, I have this upper part of the leg, and then you usually just draw like a circle for the knee, and then I have this lower part of the leg, and let's say it's going to kind of, you just do basic shapes like that, right? And then you start adding some little anatomy to it, but you have these basic shapes. So just remember this, boom, boom, right? If you just remember that, like that right there, you'll already start to get a better anatomically structured leg. It'll start looking cool. And then you can kind of add this, you know, these shapes in there. So if you think about it that way, it'll start making more sense. And then you can just remember, oh, that's right. If I want to get more detailed, there's this kind of skateboard ramp right here, right? So you take this corner and straight line, and you just kind of cut that corner off, right, to start the ramp, and then come out here like that. So you kind of have that skateboard ramp, and now you have even more anatomy there, right? Hopefully that makes sense. So if we look at the leg from the outside view, look at the leg from the outside view, right? Let's say this is like the buttocks area, and then you have the torso and everything coming up, comes up from the back, right? We have the leg coming off of this. So when you have the leg, it comes like this. We'll just kind of do the basic shapes first. So that basic kind of oval shape like that. And we have our round shape that we're going to fit on. And then we're going to take from that and we're going to add this basic shape right here. Right, so basically a 9-degree bend. We know that the ligament and everything comes off of here and kind of pulls the muscle. So we can start shaping that. Now let's take this flat shape here and that shape there, right? So we can pull out to a corner. That would be like the basic shape we would have at first. Then we can come in and start shaping it. So let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit here now. We can come in and we can start shaping all this a little bit anatomically. So we can pull the muscle here, the ligament. This also, you know, this is just advanced anatomy for the knee. So I'm assuming that you already have knowledge of the rest of the leg and muscles and stuff. And if not, I highly recommend taking my course. I have other free lessons here too on YouTube that goes through some of it. Like that. Now, the muscle sometimes can actually go like this, right? You can kind of see it just has that kind of shape. But there's usually a, thing like that. It's very slight, but you have one muscle, then you have the other muscle you're kind of seeing on the other side, the side muscle. Remember, the front leg, you have the big muscle here, and you have the two side muscles, right, that all connect to the knee. And you have the knee, well, the knees fit more like this, the kneecap, right? Those three main muscles from the front view. But for now, we're just going to kind of go like this, and we'll kind of just flatten that off a little bit. Depending on the angle, it can look either way. And then as that kind of rounds here to the patella, right, we can kind of imagine the patella fitting in here. Going, yeah, it kind of looks like that. Kind of comes, we know that's like the basic shape of it. And then we have this bottom part of the tibia. We know, hey, wait, from the side view of the tibia, there should be this kind of triangle bone right here. So if you just kind of imagine those two shapes have to be there. You have to have this kind of, shape like that, and then you have to have this triangle shape like this. And just imagine it underneath. That gives you the contours that you need, those outer, shapes you need. So it kind of comes like this. There's usually a little indent right here between the two parts. And that kind of gives you that skate ramp, see? Bam, bam, bam. That's the basic shape, the skate ramp. So you just kind of, you can take that and just cut that shape. You cut the corner off by going like that, right? So now the corner's gone. And then you put a notch there, boom, and now, oops, and then come back to the, shin bone, whatever. Now you have the skate ramp. See how that works? And then you can kind of see that, oh, wait, if I know more of the underlying anatomy, I know that, you have the ligament there and it kind of comes out. And so from the side view, sometimes you kind of see a shape like this. Then you have the muscles and everything that are attaching. So kind of that muscle usually is coming in front like this. Like they overlap, each other from different views. Kind of gives a shape like that. Then you have some other fat tissue and stuff. You usually have this kind of triangle piece here. And then you have a tendon and everything and muscles that come off here. You can kind of see that sometimes. And then you have this kind of curve you can usually see there with shadow. And the calf will come out like that. Right? So hopefully that's making sense. Get rid of some of our construction lines in there. But if you just think about it from those basic shapes first and then breaking them down, it makes it easier to sketch and draw and then refine the details as you go along. Right, okay, cool. Get rid of that, don't need it no more. Let's look at some other examples here. All right, so this is the part where the YouTube algorithm goes, oh, that's not safe for work, so that video will not be monetized. Happens to a lot of my anatomy videos. They don't get monetized. All right, so first let's look at some photos here. We have picture, X-ray picture here. You can see all the shapes as I talked about. And you can almost see right there the ligament. See right there? I'm going to just make on top of all these, I'm going to make a layer so that way I can draw on the top of this. You can see right here, what I was talking about before, you can almost see that ligament and muscle coming off. So, but look how much meat there is. So you're not seeing the top of this bone, when the knee's bent. That's not this plane here. That plane and this plane. This is tendon and muscle. This is mostly bone. All right, let's go ahead and move on. We'll get rid of that one and show this one now. So I'm going to erase this. So I wanted to show this one just to show you can see the ligament. So you can see the patella is here, has that shape like that, just like the X-ray. But it has the tendon coming off right here. And so you can see this little bump here, here, and a slight dent back there before it comes up like that. And that's the skate ramp. You can actually see the skate ramp if you think about it there. You can see when the knee bends, that tendon has to roll. If it's pushed up by this part of the bone, and it's pushed up and over, and there's also meat tissue and everything in between there. Right, so that's why you get that shape like that before you kind of run into this shape and it comes down like that. So you get that. See, all those bumps are accounted for with the anatomy. Let's look at some more. This is the one I was like, yeah, if anything, this will definitely make it to where it's not safe for work. And they'll say, just because it's shown. I mean, if I just cut it to there, it would have been fine. Whatever, it's how the photo was. It showed more of the upper body, but I didn't need that part of it. So here we can see from the front view, you know, when the person's standing there, it's kind of hard to see all the anatomy of what we've talked about now with the bone structure, because there's so much fat tissue and stuff that lies on top of there. But you can kind of see the separation, you know, right there of the kneecap, you know. Not the kneecap, but where the kneecap would go over. And so we know the separation you have, let's see, we have this separation is more like there. You have the kneecap, which kind of fits in there. You have the upper part of the bone. Might even come out like that. Remember, it has a curve to it before it comes out over here. It has like a curve to it like that. And then you have the bone there, and you have the tibia, you can kind of see here, coming down like that. Right, so you can kind of see the underlying structures there, but there's so much else happening, you know, with all the fat and the muscles and stuff. So if you want to, you know, draw knees from this front, you know, knees come in so many different shapes and sizes, like, you know, like the final part here. But you can still see, just think about it, you have these two structures. That's the fat usually follows that structure. And if you want to draw like, you know, very realistic knees, and you can always memorize a certain particular knee like this, you know, from front view you want to draw. But typically for comic books, you don't want all that shape in there. You know, for comic books, you typically just want to show maybe that shape, maybe some inside shape there, and then maybe, you know, this lower part. But remember, there's that division. So think about what lines you're going to keep or not keep when you're drawing a comic book or something. I would recommend, if you want that more realistic knee, just look at a reference, because they're all so different. You can always memorize one particular knee though, knee style, and then go from, you know, and then like that would be like your go-to knee style. If you wanted to change it, you can look at reference. So here you can see that ligament, right, is being pulled up and over because of the bone structure underneath. And then you have this part here, the tibia. So you can see that, and here's the skate ramp. Look at that, bam, there's a skate ramp. You can see that right there perfectly. And then the basic shape, remember I said before, is just this shape right here. That basic shape, and or you can think about it, you know, like this way, like that, right? That was the basic shape. But here we have to add that muscle and everything on top of there. From that bent of a knee, you usually don't see that shape as much, but you might think of more the basic shape like that for like one big skate ramp. But nonetheless, you can still see everything I talked about. You can see that tendon stretching up and over. You can see the tibia part of the bone sticking out here more, where the ligament will have to stretch up and connect to the side view of the patella here. And then it stretches, you know, you can see the ligament stretching down here and connected to that part of the tibia that sticks out. Then you would have, you know, the entire tibia structure in here. And you would have that other part of the bone like that coming up. Then you have the ligament coming off of here and then stretching over and around like that to connect to the muscle and stuff. Can't really see this one too. I'm not going to go with that back leg because it's kind of hard to see it. It's just there's not enough there. She's covering it. I think I have another one where we can see more of that. I wanted to show this photo just because it really shows, and I got most of these from Shutterstock, so that's why they have the Shutterstock on them. I'm not going to buy them just to show them because I'm not using it for monetization. This video won't be monetized anyway. I'm just using it for reference, so it's not like I'm trying to make money off of it. So we have this structure we can see here. I really like how you can really see the tendon. You see that? You can really see that tendon pulling down into the part of the tibia. That part that sticks out, and then you can see like the patella there. And then you can kind of see like where that bone would be, you know, underneath. And you can see a clear separation. Look at this here. That clear separation between the tibia down here and then the femur bone, which is on top. Then you'd have, it's kind of a 3/4 view, but then you'd have the patella and the ligament coming down. Right, so pretty cool how you can really see the division there once you know that there's a division there and how it kind of works. You can really see it. Look at that, you can really see that the bone right there. It's really good. Another thing to look for when you're just drawing legs, I really liked in this that this image really shows, is when you have the shin bone, right? It kind of has this C curve in here, and then the muscle comes off of that. So this kind of comes in front, and then you have, it technically goes like that, but the curve you usually see is right here, like this, because you have this other big muscle right here that sits on top, and so that's what creates that C curve. But I really like, I like including that in my drawings. When I usually focus on that. So I'll have like my knee or whatever, and then I'll focus on that C curve like this, and then I'll add in the rest of everything like that on top of that. So this one here, right, so I wanted to show this image to show something I see people doing, and it's an easy thing to do, especially when you just start drawing from your imagination, that you might make this mistake, is you might draw the kneecap like on the very top here. You might be like thinking that this is the kneecap, and you'll like draw like that, but that's not the kneecap. Remember, when you bend the knee sideways, the kneecap is still facing on this plane. It's not on this top plane, right? So it's nowhere on the top plane. And so you have the kneecap is here, right? It has this kind of shape like that. You can see kind of part of the flat plane here. Part of that flat plane right there is part of the kneecap. And this whole front-facing plane is a kneecap, and it kind of comes down like this. That's the basic shape as we looked at when we looked at the X-ray. And then you have the tibia part that sticks up. Now, if you could find this part, this landmark right here, and then you know the tendons come up to the patella or the kneecap. Once you find that, it's, remember when you have that angle right there from the side view of the tibia, you have this kind of triangle shape that is above it, and it kind of looks like this, and it kind of goes above like that, and then that comes off of it. That little triangle piece, remember I said that comes off of it. And just to show that, I'm going to go here. It goes this image, yeah. So you can see the triangle piece that sticks off right there, and you have this kind of, you know, slightly triangle shape right there. It's kind of sits above it. And then when the leg's bent, you have the oval that almost goes straight up and down at this point, right? So going back here, get rid of all of that, and you can see that all right here. You know, you make that landmark right there. Boom. You know, you have this triangle piece. So then that little triangle piece that sticks off. And once you find that landmark, then you know, okay, I have to have this like triangle piece that fits in here as part of that bone. And then, you know, at an angle, you have the other part that rock, it's rocking, the patella is rocking right there on part of that part of the femur. We're looking at the underside of the femur here. And then you have the tendon that comes up and it stretches along because all this is pushing all that structure upward. And so that whole bend right there is the tendon, ligaments, you know, that tissue that connects to the muscle. So just consider that and think about it. So when you're drawing for imagination, you would, you know, draw that basic shape here. You would draw the circle shape. You would then draw another circle shape coming down here for the calf, and then you would draw this. I would usually just kind of draw a point like this, right? It's just that knee point. And then I know that from the tibia, I have a little tibia part sticking out when the knee's bent like that. And then I would just I can have my skateboard ramp in here. I can just have this whole thing right here be a skateboard ramp. And then I can round off that top part, you know. So that would be how you can go around constructing it without getting overwhelmed with too many details at first. Another thing you can do too is you can just get used to it when you draw the leg, that you have that circle right there, and that you know you have another circle coming off of here that's going to be your calf. Just know that kind of where those two, see where you kind of, let me get rid of that if you can see what I'm talking about. you can almost see like there's this dent right here where I connected the two circles. And so you know, okay, I know that this top part is where the ligament is, like that whole top plane is where the ligament is. But when I get to the side plane here, I'm going to start seeing some of the, that's the flat plane of the patella. I know my patella is going to kind of fit in here. Then it kind of comes like that. And then I know I have this part sticking out, you know, here of the shin bone, or the tibia, however you want to look at it. And then you can connect that ligament down. So I know I'm going to get that kind of skateboard ramp shape here. See that skateboard ramp? It goes like this, and like that. That's the skateboard ramp shape. Right? So, bam, I have that. And then I can round out the top there and, you know, just connect everything else that you need. Like, you know, what's overlapping what? How is the knee being bent? Anyway, hopefully that makes sense. Let's go through a couple more here. Probably be faster if I would just make new layers, but oh well. Especially at this point, I'm at the top. I'm already at the top now. That lettering's right, kind of in the way here. But I wanted to show two things in this photo. You probably already guessed what it's going to be. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to move the photo. Oops. I'm just going to move the photo like that. So it's more like where I want it, where I like to draw. Right, so we have that same structure. So if you kind of just follow this leg, you can kind of go like this and like that, right? You can just kind of build that shape in there. When the knee's not bent too much, you can see that shape, that overall triangle shape. So when you draw the leg, you know, you just draw it to this kind of point like that, and then you would have the other circle coming in here, another point, or you can sometimes I just draw a straight triangle coming off. Then imagine this little triangle fit in front. You can see how that would fit the anatomy. And then you just start refining it, you know. Oops, I'm actually drawing on the photo. But then you just start refining it. So let's go ahead and let's actually do that real fast. So we have the straight. We'll just have a triangle here like that, and then like a triangle here, right? That kind of just fits right on there like that. We'll kind of have the. So if we want to start refining this, you know, anatomy-wise, we would come here, start coming like that. We know that this kind of comes out more like this, has a shape like that. And then all this right here we can refine. We know there's a part of the tibia that comes out. I'm probably sticking it out a little too far, but comes out a little bit like that. Kind of comes in. We know we have this more rounded part here that kind of flattens out like this. And then we have that kneecap part we can see there. Remember, we can pull this whole leg in half. We have, once you have this mark here, we know that right above that is this kind of like, you know, triangle shape right here that is the rest of that. And then this upper part here has like an angle to it like that, right? We can fit all that. And we're just like thinking about all that. You're not drawing it all, you're just thinking about it in the back of your head. You know that's why you have to learn the structure. You have to be able to think about what's underneath. Then you have that kind of shape like this, right? Maybe you can see some of the muscle right here. But you get the idea. So you can start to see how that works, and then maybe you're like, well, this comes and it's more like that, you know. You get the idea? So you're adding that detail afterwards, but you start with that basic sketch first. Let's go back to the. Look, that was actually pretty close. So you can see that muscle right there, muscle and tendons. I think it's mostly tendon. Might be some ligaments. I forget the difference. And it kind of has that flat plane right there because it's wrapping around still to the patella. And you can see the patella has its shape in here. There's a bunch of fat tissue and muscles on top of it. You can see the slight part that's sticking out here, but it's kind of it's not a fully side angle. That's why you can see some of the muscle over there. That comes out. So that creates the ligament to that part of the shin bone or the tibia. Right, that gives us that nice contour shape. You can really see it nicely. Now, depending on how much fat tissue the person has built up, how old they are, the older you get, the more everything sags downward. But you can usually see this shape from the inner side view, and right there. And that's often used in comics, but you won't add too much detail here. You could add that kind of basic shape like that, two mountains or whatever from this angle, or you can just kind of do the skateboard ramp thing. Or you can just kind of do even more simplified. You'll see this oftentimes in comics, just like that. Boom. And then you might, like that. And then you might see part of that curve, just depends. And sometimes they might have another line right here. But that's the basic shape of the knee from that side. like that, and it looks quite nice. Whereas if you were to come in here and, you know, try to trace all these contours and say, I'm going to use that exact thing, it might not look as nice, you know, for comic work, right? I think that just having the more basic shapes like that look better for comic, but you can be the judge and decide for yourself what you want your comic to look like. But if you look at a lot of comics, you'll see that. So that's just something to keep in your mind, that from the inside view, you can get that shape there. And also from the front view, you can kind of see that shape of fat, you know, from the front view. You can kind of see that, and then you can see the kneecap is fitting into there. And I'll usually just kind of, you know, add a few. If you add all this detail, you know, you really try to bring all the detail in, it starts looking weird, you know, like that's just too much detail for a comic book, or even just for a drawing, unless you're really trying to go realistic. But you want to show most of this with, you know, with form, you know, with shadow and stuff. You don't want to show it with actual line work. But you know, if you want to reduce that for a comic book, you might just ignore that line altogether, or you might only have that line in there, and then maybe, you know, a couple line like that, and maybe this line. That's it, and that's all you're going to have to define it. Or you might go, you know what, I want to ignore the fat tissue line altogether, and I might just kind of add, you know, that we know there's two parts, right? That's the upper part, that's the upper bone, the femur, and then now we have the tibia, and you just kind of, you know, only add a couple of those shapes in there like that, and that looks nice too. So stuff to consider when drawing the knee. All right, so I recommend you know, looking at Google Images or something like Shutterstock, because it does give you a wider variety of images to look at with higher quality. They have these words over it, which is kind of annoying, but you know, you still is good for references, and you can just kind of look at it. Especially the smaller images don't have words over them, the little icons, and that's usually enough to kind of see like the basic structure that you're going for, and just kind of see, can you see how the knee, when the knee is bent, you know, slightly differently, can you see how, you know, the anatomy is there? You know, try to see the anatomy by drawing over it, and then see the basic shapes, like what creates these basic contours. You know, why is the knee looking that way from this angle? I'm looking at some right now. I'm just trying to see if I can get another one we can go over really fast. I don't know if have we gone over this angle yet? Oh, actually, I had one more here anyway. So, cool. Right, so here we have that muscle, and then remember this upper part, okay, this upper plane, think about these two planes always of the knee, of the leg in general, and how it's bent. And the upper plane is not your patella, it's the tendon that stretches and has that shape like this, right, that kind of rounded shape. And it's this plane here, the plane from this side, is where you get that flat part of the bone, of the patella, of the kneecap. I don't know, because I couldn't think of the regular term, like the term most people call it. Right? It might be a little bit thicker than that, but it kind of fits in and have that shape, right? And then you have this angle here coming straight down. That's the tendon, and then coming off of that little bone of the tibia. And then remember, the tibia fits. You don't have to like draw all this, but you just know that you have this kind of, you know, triangle shape. Oops, actually it goes more like this, because the leg's kind of bent a little bit. That triangle shape comes down, you have the bone, right? Then you have this, because it's kind of at an angle, you'd actually have it like that, right? Anyway, it's kind of too small and wrong shapes, we get the idea. But we know that what creates that is that part of the tibia coming out like that, and then there's this connective tissue. I think it might be a ligament that connects from here to here. It's either a tendon or a ligament. Anyway, tissue that connects from there to there, right? And that's what gives us that shape. So now we know the three main shapes here. This top part, the top plane, is a stretched tendon. I think it's tendon. I think tendons are what connect to muscles. And then, you know what? I'm going to look it up real quick. Okay, so I guess a ligament is usually used to hold bones together, and a tendon is to connect muscles to other tissues or bones. So In this case, I guess this is bone to bone. It's from the patella to the tibia, and so it'd be a ligament. This one here would be a tendon because it's connected to the bone, the patella, and then up to a muscle. So this top contour line there, tendon, this one here, ligament. But then you can see that shape there and there. So you can kind of see this shape like that, right? Another kind of skateboard ramp shape from this angle. But just know that this one here is part of it is tendon, and part of it is the little part right there, the little part of the tibia. And then you have the different muscles and stuff that, come in front of it, and that's what you usually only get this, that little bit of a shape right there for the knee on that side. And then from this side, you have that kind of curved shape there, but you have the same shape like this, right? Just keep in mind that there's a lot more leg than there is knee from the side view because it's being covered by other tissues and muscles. All right, cool. Another thing I wanted to show right here is you sometimes can see this separation right here. Like, see that? You can kind of see a separation like that. So we know this top plane, remember there's these two planes. So if I was going to draw this as a comic character and I just want to be fast, I might just go like this, and then I'm going to come right off like that, and because I'm going to be drawing from imagination anyways. That's the simplified structure that I draw. But if we look at this top plane, we know that's a tendon that goes up to the muscle, right? And we know that this plane right here, part of it is going to be the patella that is underneath from the side view. And then we know that this part sticking up here, part of that is going to be from the tibia itself, and then there's going to be connective tissue, the ligament tissue that connects between there. And there's this kind of shape in here right above that kind of triangle shape that's above it. Then you kind of have it's a slight angle, not too much of an angle right at this time like that for part of the fibula. So what you're seeing there, even though it looks like a separation, you see that? How it almost, that right there almost looks like there's a separation of two different shapes here. You're not actually seeing that separation. This is just muscle and fatty tissue, right? And just know that, yeah, the top part there, the ligament or the tendon, then you have the part of the bone here, and that goes to the bone, and that section between the two bones. What creates that full line is part of the bone, so the lower part of the patella, part of the tibia, and then a ligament that attaches between them. And that's actually just I'm not going to re-explain everything again because I just explained it, so hopefully that makes sense what I was trying to say. I just don't want you to get, it's just easy to get confused sometimes when looking. I think I picked the small image. Hold on, let me get rid of that. Go back to the site here. Oh no, did I get rid of it altogether? Oh, no, I didn't. I just went over it. Let's go back like this. No, I did get rid of it. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. Okay. Copy that version. All right, cool. So move that down, go up here. So once again, just remember, you have this top plane and this side plane, right? In this case, that sticks out a little bit like that, but you still have this kind of, that kind of triangle shape, even when the leg's bent. It's just from the top view, it's more like, or from when the leg's not really bent, right? You have like that, then you have that shape right there. That's when the person's standing. When this leg gets bent, this and this all get bent this way, right? Like that. So it's all like that now. But that same triangle is still there. It's just like this instead of like this, but it's still there. Hopefully that makes sense what I just said. This whole line gets moved down this way right here. Those two lines are the same. So I still think about that triangle shape, even though it seems different when it's bent. It's still there. Okay, so that top plane we know is the ligament and everything. And everything on this side going down is this. I'm not going to be able to record. Sorry about the dog. So the main thing you need to be focused on is where the patella is from the knee. So when you're drawing the knee, mainly you're just focused on where's the patella, because you know that there's a tendon on the top and a ligament on the bottom. And where's that part of the tibia that sticks out? And usually if you can identify those parts, then you understand like why the knee looks like the knee, because that's the main parts you actually see on an actual person. Everything else, this is all other structure, other muscles and other structure. This is not the knee anymore. The knee's underneath all that. You're not seeing all that, right? And so that's why I recommend, my course. And I'm going to try to go over, if I get enough people asking me in this video, if you've watched up to this point and you want to see me go more in detail about the leg bent, but you want me to go into the actual other structures that are there, the other muscles and stuff that are there, and tendons and stuff that make up the actual shapes we're seeing everywhere else, then let me know and I can try to do that. So landmark, boom, we got the landmark right there, right? That's that tibia landmark. Once we have that landmark, we know the other angle that comes off of that, right, is going to be the tendon. So this, because it's small, right? It's just this tiny small piece. Everything else has to be a ligament that attaches to the patella. Once we have that, we can identify the patella. And the patella is pretty easy to identify because it's usually an angle that goes like that. So remember, if we have top plane and this plane, usually there's a plane that's in between the two, and that's usually a surface of the patella. We can see it right there. It's a surface of the patella. And remember, the patella kind of is shaped like almost like a rectangle. But it has a ligament right here that comes down and attaches to the tibia. And that's what gives us that look. And sometimes, if you look closely, because there's a separation, right, the leg's being bent, and there's a separation underneath this, we know there's a separation between the two bones. Sometimes that tendon or ligament goes like that, kind of has a slight shape like that to it. Kind of see it? But when you're drawing, you don't have to draw that. You can literally just draw that skateboard ramp. Boom, just kind of flatten that out. You don't have to have the indent in there. It's not necessary. Your drawing will still look really awesome, even if you're drawing a realistic drawing. But if you really want it to be there, just know it can be there. If you're drawing from imagination, just draw it straight. It's easier. Then from this top part, we have a tendon. And that tendon comes like this, and it bends, and it gets stretched more depending how more you bend the knee. And if you bend this leg all the way back this way, like that, that pops out the patella a little bit more, and you can see that shape a little bit better. So let's go like this. That leg's kind of staying the same, but this leg bent more, and we have this whole plane right here, right? Let's get rid of that for a second. It pushes the patella out a little bit more, so you can usually see it out like that a little bit more, and then that's what really changes, right? Like that. And then sometimes this muscle kind of covers that a lot, and it kind of flattens it out, but you can kind of see it like that. Right, okay. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, anything else I do would just really be reinforcing these ideas with different photos, I think. I didn't do enough, I think, of maybe front photos. Maybe I can do that. And the reason why I haven't really gone too much into the front view is because a lot of what you're looking at is not really the knee structure that we've been going through, but it's mostly, fat tissue and muscles, and we're not going over that right now. We're just going over the knee itself, that part that really changes depending on the bone structure and how it bends and stuff. But if you have a front view like this, it's slight angle because it's kind of turned inward. We can kind of talk about this a little bit. So see how it's slightly turned inward, because we can kind of see the different structures there. So we can kind of see, right there, that outside structure right there. Everything else is mostly tendon, but you can kind of see right here, look at that tendon that kind of comes up right here, attaches, and kind of see where the tendon comes up. Then it becomes part of this muscle here, which is the Rectus Femoris. I believe that's what it's called. Then you have the two other main muscles that attach on the side here that kind of go like that. But I go over that in my course. I might, like I said, if I get enough requests, I'll make an advanced video for that topic of just the legs in general, like how to draw them, but we'll focus more on the bending of the legs and stuff. But overall, like the rest of the structure, like what's going on there. And you can kind of see part over, like somewhere over here, you might be able to see a little bit of that bone right there, of the actual femur bone. And we know there's separation. Then you have the tibia, which is, you can kind of see part of the tibia sticking out there, and over here, and this kind of all comes down. And then you might be able to see some of the fibula over there, that little notch right there. But see this right there, you can see that structure right there is the is part of the, let me get rid of some of this here so you can see that. See all that right there? That's part of that tendon coming down to the tibia. So you can see from the front view, it's attaching. You can almost see the actual attachment part here, right there. You can see that line right there. You can see where it kind of attaches. It's kind of a three-dimensional object, and it's coming down like that. So that's good. And if we look at something like this, there's not a whole lot to talk about because mostly what we're seeing is, like I said, other tissues that are not the structure we've learned in this video. But you can still kind of see them. You can kind of see where the basic idea would be, the separation. Right, we can kind of see that a little bit, and we can see there's too much fat tissue here, but just know that that goes down there, and there's another one that comes up here. This comes up and becomes part of the muscle. This comes down into the tibia, and we kind of see we know the tibia would kind of come off to the side like that. But all this structure right here isn't part of any of that. So it's not. That's oops, I drew right on top of the photo. So all that this other stuff right here, see all that right there, that's other muscles and stuff and fatty tissues over it. So, and all right here, you can kind of see like some of this is kind of influenced by the bone underneath actually right there, but a lot of it is muscle and stuff. So like I said, we can go that in another video maybe. Let's look at one more here. Before I get into this one, I wanted to say something that crossed my mind as I was searching for images. So on Google, I typed in bare legs. That's it. That's how I started my search. And then I started clicking on other photos that kind of matched the, bent knee I was looking for, which led me to photos on Shutterstock. I didn't even think about searching Shutterstock until after I found that photo. And I'm like, oh, I'm just going to search Shutterstock. Anyway, on Google, one of the images it showed was this little girl. And even in the title said something like little girl shorts, something like that, right? She's like a little girl model for shorts, but it's very provocative. I don't even want to show it. I don't even want to go try to find it again. I don't have it on my thing anymore, but I'm sure it'll pop up again if I type bare legs. And these shorts are really short, which is fine. A 9-year-old girl can run around in shorts, not a big deal. What is bothersome to me is that this photo is allowed and it's provocative. So she's modeling herself as if she's some sexy woman, but she's like 9 years old. And she's showing off like all of her legs, all the way up to like almost bikini. That's how short the shorts were. And it was crazy. I'm like, why is that not considered some kind of child porn? Why is that even allowed, that you can have images of children? Because that's what a pervert is going to go look for, stuff like that. And it's illegal. He can have it on his computer. It's not illegal. It's not considered porn. But I don't know. That's definitely crossing a line. I think that's borderline. Anyway, totally off topic, but it was just pretty bothersome that was even there. That you can just search for bare legs and something like that comes up. It's like, why would I want to see this image ever? Like, this has no place in society. It serves zero purpose. That is not how you show off shorts. You just have her modeling normal poses, and then you can see the shorts and go, cool, that's what shorts look like on that aged person. I'll buy them for my daughter. Not like legs spread and trying to look sexy and just ridiculous. Anyway. So here we can see there's a lot of form in this one. So both of them have the leg bent. So both knees are bent. Therefore, we can see the structure a little bit. We can see this top part here, and we can see this bottom part here. Now, that's not any of the structure that we learned. That's more form, but we can see it. So we can kind of see the upper part of the patella here, because remember, it's a three-dimensional object, and part of it coming down like that, and then part of the ligament, which comes into the tibia. We can see the separation, where we know we'd have the tibia in here, and then we'd have the bottom part of the femur, the head of the femur, wherever it's called here. And then remember, the femur kind of goes like, has a curve. First it connects here, comes out like that. Then it has a curve to it, like that. So we can kind of see how that would fit in there. But anyway, you can see how this top part has tendon right here connected to the top part of the patella, and it comes and it's going to connect into that muscle, right? And then it just becomes that muscle. So you can see some of the structure there. You can also see here, you can see kind of the top part of the patella and then the ankle. So remember, so the patella from the top part is going to look like that. Then you see, you see two different planes, right? You see the top part and the bottom part. It's a three-dimensional object. The patella is not just like some flat disc. It's actually quite thick from the side view. That's why I draw it like this. Okay, it's actually quite thick. And if you can, see it from different angles, you'll be able to see, this top part. So from the front view, kind of looks like this, right? But if you're kind of looking at the top a little bit, you see some of that top structure, then you can start to see it has a three-dimensional shape, right? You start to see that top structure like that. Or maybe the light's hitting this, and this is where the shadow's coming. Just depends on the angle of the light. So that's what we're seeing there. I don't know if you can really see that because it's, it's quite dark, so I'll make it light like that. Then you have the top part, the tendon that's coming off. It's coming down. Anyways, we can kind of see that structure a little bit. Everything else you can't really see. It's hard to see everything else. It's hard to see like because those bones really don't stick out. You might be able to see a little bit of this bone right here. That's the part of the fibula right there. I can just kind of color it in. It's part of the fibula sticking out, which attaches to the side of the tibula. You can kind of see the bump right there. Again, that's the bump of the fibula. So that's an important bump. I didn't really focus too much on that in this video, I don't think, actually. I mean, I went over it, I showed that it's there, but I should have made it more clear from the side view. That bump right there, is important. So when you're drawing the figure, it's always on the outside of the leg. Remember that. It's not on the inside, it's on the outside of the leg. Just know that that bump can sometimes be visible there. Okay, so that's it. Thank you for watching. Sorry about the dog in the background here and there. All right, hey, do me a favor if you enjoyed this video. Do me a favor and like the video. It literally takes you a second, and I know I become numb to this like so many times. So many times I heard that message, hey, thumbs up if you like, and then I just don't even think about it, and I just forget to like it. So I got to remind myself, oh yeah, I like this video, so I should, do something about it and actually hit the thumbs up button and show my support. So please do that. Thank you.